The distress signal came at 3 in the morning, ship time. Commander Daniel Harris was sleeping in his cabin when the alarm pulled him from his dreams. He was on his feet before he fully understood what was happening. His body knew the sound. It meant trouble. He reached the bridge in less than 2 minutes. The night crew was already working at their stations. The main screen showed a small moon, gray and lifeless, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. The moon had no name. It was not on any of their maps. "What do we have?" Daniel asked. Lieutenant Kevin Shaw turned from his console. He was a young man with short brown hair and tired eyes. "Distress signal, sir. It started broadcasting about 10 minutes ago. The signal is weak. Whoever sent it is in bad shape." Daniel looked at the screen. The moon was far from any known trade routes. There was no reason for anyone to be out here. That made him nervous. "Can you identify the source?" he asked. Kevin shook his head. "The signal pattern is not in our database. It is not human." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. First contact with an unknown species was rare. It was also dangerous. The galaxy was full of things that did not like humans. Daniel thought about it for a long moment. The safe choice was to ignore the signal and continue on their mission. They were carrying supplies to a colony on the edge of known space. They had a schedule to keep. No one would blame them for staying away from an unknown alien signal. But Daniel had not become a commander by making safe choices. He had joined the Earth Coalition to explore, to discover, and to help. That was what humans did. They reached out into the darkness and tried to make it a little less dark. "Set a course for the moon," he said. "Take us in slow and careful. I want shields up and weapons ready. But we are not looking for a fight." Kevin nodded and began entering commands. The ship, a mid-sized vessel called the Starboard, changed direction and began moving toward the small gray moon. Daniel pressed a button on his chair. "Dr. Bennett, please come to the bridge. We may have a medical situation." A woman's voice came through the speaker. "On my way." 20 minutes later, the Starboard was in orbit around the moon. The sensors had found the source of the distress signal. It was a crash shuttle, half buried in the gray dust of the surface. The damage was severe. One of the engines had exploded. The other was bent and broken. Whoever had been flying that ship had come down hard. Dr. Laura Bennett stood next to Daniel, looking at the image on the screen. She was a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and steady hands. She had been a doctor for 20 years and had seen every kind of injury. Nothing surprised her anymore. "Life signs?" she asked. Kevin checked his console. 1. Very weak. It is fading. Laura looked at Daniel. "We need to move fast." Daniel nodded. "Kevin, you are with me. Laura, get your medical kit. We are going down there." The shuttle ride to the surface took only a few minutes. Daniel piloted while Kevin watched the sensors and Laura checked her equipment. The gray dust of the moon rose around them as they landed near the crashed ship. They stepped out into the cold silence of the airless moon. Their suits protected them from the vacuum and the freezing temperature. Daniel led the way, his boots leaving deep prints in the dust. The crashed shuttle was worse up close. The metal was torn and twisted. Smoke still rose from the broken engine. Daniel could not understand how anyone had survived this crash. Kevin found the hatch. It was jammed, but together they managed to force it open. Inside, the shuttle was dark and filled with smoke. Laura turned on her helmet light and pushed forward. She found the survivor in the pilot's seat. It was a woman. At least, that was what Laura's first impression was. The shape was female. The size was similar to a human woman, but everything else was different. Her skin was a deep violet color. Her hair was white and long, falling around her shoulders like snow. Her eyes were closed, but Laura could see that they were larger than human eyes. Her hands had only 4 fingers. She was bleeding from a wound on her head. Her arm was bent at a wrong angle. Her breathing was shallow and weak. "She is alive," Laura said, "but not for long if we do not help her." Daniel moved closer. The alien woman's eyes opened suddenly. They were silver, bright and beautiful, and full of fear. She looked at Daniel and tried to pull away, but she was too weak. Her mouth opened and she spoke in a language that Daniel did not understand. Then she spoke again, and this time the words were in broken English. Her voice was rough and full of pain. "Please," she said, "do not waste your resources on me. I am not worthy of your trust." Daniel felt something twist in his chest. He had seen fear before. He had seen pain. But he had never heard anyone say those words. She was not asking for help. She was asking them to leave her to die. He knelt down next to her so that his face was close to hers. "My name is Daniel. I am the commander of the ship Starward. We received your distress signal and we came to help. What is your name?" The alien woman stared at him. She did not seem to understand the question. "Name?" She repeated double quotes, "Yes. What do your people call you?" She was silent for a moment. "Velith," she said finally. "My name is Velith." "Velith," Daniel said. "We are going to take you to our ship. Our doctor is going to fix your injuries. You are going to be okay." Velith shook her head. The movement caused her pain, but she did it anyway. "You do not understand. My people are looking for me. They will come for me. If they find me with you, they will destroy your ship. They will kill all of you." Daniel looked at Laura. Laura looked back at him. Neither of them moved. "Who are your people?" Daniel asked. "The Kethrani," Velith said. The word came out like a warning. "I am a prisoner. I escaped from their warship. I stole this shuttle and tried to run, but they shot me down. They are coming. If you are wise, you will leave me here and go far away." Daniel stood up. He looked at the broken shuttle around them. He looked at the small, violet-skinned woman who was bleeding and broken and asking him to abandon her. "Kevin," he said, "help me carry her to our shuttle." Kevin moved forward without asking any questions. They lifted Velith as gently as they could. She cried out in pain but did not fight them. "Why?" she asked as they carried her. "Why are you doing this? You do not know me. I could be lying. I could be a monster." Daniel did not stop walking. "Maybe," he said, "but right now you are hurt and alone. Where I come from, we do not leave people behind, not even strangers." Velith did not answer. She did not understand. Among her people, the weak were left to die. The strong survived. That was the only law that mattered. These humans were strange. They were foolish. They would regret this decision. But as they carried her onto their shuttle and the doctor began working on her wounds, Velith felt something she had not felt in a very long time. Hope. Velith woke up in a room filled with soft light. The ceiling above her was white and clean. The bed beneath her was warm and comfortable. For a moment, she did not know where she was. Then she remembered. The crash. The humans. The strange commander who had refused to leave her behind. She tried to sit up, but pain shot through her body. She looked down and saw that her arm was wrapped in something white and hard. Her head was covered in soft bandages. Tubes connected her arm to a machine that beeped quietly. The door opened and a woman walked in. It was the doctor from before. She had brown hair pulled back from her face and a gentle smile. "You are awake," the doctor said. "Good. I was worried for a while. You lost a lot of blood." Velith watched her carefully. "Where am I?" "You are in the medical bay of the Starward. My name is Laura Bennett. I am the ship's doctor." She walked closer and checked the machines next to the bed. Your arm was broken in 3 places. I set the bones and put a cast on it. The wound on your head was deep, but I cleaned it and closed it. You should heal well." Velith did not know what to say. She had been treated by doctors before, but they had always been cold and rough. They did their work quickly because there were always more injured prisoners waiting. No one had ever spoken to her with kindness. "Thank you," she said. The words felt strange in her mouth. Lavra smiled again. "You do not need to thank me. It is my job." She pulled a chair close to the bed and sat down. "How are you feeling? Any pain?" "Some," Velith admitted. "But I have felt worse." Lara nodded. "I can give you something for the pain, if you want. But first, Commander Harris would like to speak with you. If you feel strong enough." Velith thought about it. She did not feel strong. She felt tired and broken and afraid. But she also knew that she owed these humans an explanation. They had saved her life. They deserved to know what they had brought onto their ship. "I will speak with him," she said. A few minutes later, Commander Harris walked into the medical bay. He was a tall man with dark hair and a face that looked like it had seen many hard years. But his eyes were not hard. They were warm and curious. "Velith," he said, "it is good to see you awake. How do you feel?" "Better," she said, "because of you and your doctor." Daniel pulled up another chair and sat next to Lara. "I need to ask you some questions. I need to understand what is happening. You said your people are looking for you. You said they are dangerous. I need to know more." Velith closed her eyes for a moment. Then she began to talk. "I am Kethrani," she said. "My people control many star systems. We are powerful and we are feared. We believe that strength is the only thing that matters. The weak serve the strong. That is our way." She paused. "I was a scientist. I studied other species. I traveled to many worlds and learned about different cultures. And I began to see things that troubled me." "What kind of things?" Daniel asked. "I saw how my people treated the weak. We conquered worlds and took their resources. We killed those who resisted. We enslaved those who surrendered. I saw children separated from their parents. I saw entire populations worked to death in mines and factories." Her voice shook. "And everyone said it was right. Everyone said it was the natural order. The strong rule. The weak serve. There is no other way." Lavra reached out and touched her hand. Velith flinched at first, then allowed the contact. It felt strange. Comfort was not something she was used to. "But you did not agree," Lavra said quietly. "No," Velith said. "I could not accept it. I began to speak against our policies. I wrote reports saying that we should treat other species with respect. I argued that mercy was not weakness." She laughed, but there was no happiness in it. "They called me infected. They said compassion was a disease that had corrupted my mind." Daniel leaned forward. "What happened to you?" "I was arrested. They took away my work, my position, everything. They put me in a prison for political criminals. I was going to be executed." She looked at Daniel with her silver eyes. "I escaped during a transfer between facilities. I stole a shuttle and ran. I did not know where I was going. I just wanted to be free." "And they shot you down," Daniel said. "Yes, but I managed to crash on this moon. I sent the distress signal, hoping someone would find me. I did not expect." She stopped and looked around the medical bay. "I did not expect anyone like you." The room was quiet for a long moment. Then Daniel spoke. "Velith, I want you to understand something. On Earth, we have had our own dark times. We have made many of the same mistakes your people are making. War, slavery, cruelty. We nearly destroyed ourselves more than once." He paused. "But we learned. Slowly, painfully, We learned that treating others with kindness makes us stronger, not weaker. Velith shook her head. Your words are beautiful, Commander, but the Kethrani will not listen to words. They are coming for me. I know them. They will not stop until I am dead, and they will destroy anyone who stands in their way. Daniel nodded slowly. How long do we have? I do not know. Days, maybe. They have many ships. They will search every system until they find me. Daniel stood up. Then we need to prepare. But first, you need to rest and heal. Laura will take care of you. Velith grabbed his arm. Her grip was weak, but her eyes were desperate. Commander, please listen to me. I am not worth dying for. I am just one person. One criminal. Let me take an escape pod and leave. Save your crew. Daniel looked down at her. Velith, on my ship, we do not measure people by their worth. Every life matters. Yours included. He gently removed her hand from his arm. Get some rest. We will talk more later. He left the medical bay. Velith stared at the door for a long time after he was gone. Over the next few days, Velith began to heal. Lavra visited her often, bringing food and medicine. The food was strange but not unpleasant. The medicine made her feel better. Other crew members came to see her too. A young engineer named Tyler Grant was the most frequent visitor. He was a friendly man with a quick smile and a lot of questions. Is it true that Kethrani ships can travel through solid matter? He asked one day. Velith almost smiled. No, that is a myth. What about the thing with the mind control? Also a myth. Tyler looked disappointed. Okay, what about the rumor that you can see in complete darkness? Velith blinked. That one is true. Our eyes are very sensitive. Tyler's face lit up. That is amazing. Can you teach me how? Velith did not know how to respond. No one had ever wanted to learn anything from her. I cannot teach you, she said. It is just how we are made. Well, maybe I can teach you something then, Tyler said. He pulled out a small device and pressed a button. Sound filled the room. It was music, but unlike anything Velith had ever heard. It was full of emotion and energy. This is rock and roll, Tyler said. It is from Earth, old music, but still good. Velith listened. The sounds were strange and chaotic, but there was something powerful about them. Something that made her feel alive. I like it, she said quietly. Tyler grinned. I knew you would. These humans continued to surprise her. They treated her like a person, not a prisoner. They shared their food and their music and their time with her. They asked her questions about her world and told her stories about theirs. She began to understand that they were not foolish. They were simply different. They believed in things that her people had forgotten, but the fear never left her. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the Kethrani warships. She saw the face of Drathvorn, the commander who would order her execution. He was cruel and patient. He would never stop hunting her. On the fourth day, the alarm sounded. Kevin Shaw's voice came through the speakers. Commander Harris to the bridge. We have contacts on long-range sensors. 3 ships. They are Kethrani. Velith's blood went cold. They had found her. The hunters had come, and these kind foolish humans were about to learn what the Kethrani truly were. The bridge of the Starward was tense with nervous energy. Every crew member was at their station, eyes fixed on their screens. The main display showed 3 red dots moving slowly toward them. They were still far away, but they were getting closer with every passing minute. Commander Daniel Harris stood in the center of the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. His face was calm, but inside, his heart was beating fast. He had been in difficult situations before. He had faced pirates and smugglers and hostile aliens. But he had never faced anything like the Kethrani. How long until they reach us? He asked. Kevin Shaw studied his console. At their current speed, about 6 hours. But they could accelerate if they wanted to. And our chances if we run? Kevin shook his head. Not good, sir. Their ships are faster than ours. They would catch us within 2 hours. Daniel nodded. He had expected that answer, but he had needed to hear it. Sometimes you had to rule out the easy options before you could focus on the hard ones. The door behind him opened. Velith walked in, her arm still in its cast. Her face was pale and her silver eyes were filled with guilt. Commander, she said. I heard the alarm. They are here, are they not? Daniel turned to look at her. Yes, 3 warships. They will reach us in about 6 hours. Velith closed her eyes. Then you know what you must do. Give me to them. Tell them I forced you to take me aboard. They will believe it. They expect other species to be cowardly. They will take me and leave you alone. The bridge went quiet. Every crew member was listening now. Daniel could feel their eyes on him, waiting to see what he would do. He walked toward Velith and stopped in front of her. Is that what you want? To go back to them? To be executed? Velith opened her eyes. They were wet with tears she was trying not to shed. What I want does not matter. What matters is that your crew lives. They have done nothing wrong. They do not deserve to die because of me. Daniel was silent for a moment. Then he turned to face his crew. I want to hear from my senior officers, he said. Lieutenant Shaw, Chief Engineer Cross, Dr. Bennett, come to the conference room. We need to make a decision. The 4 of them gathered in the small room next to the bridge. Kevin, Megan Cross, and Laura sat around the table. Daniel stood at the head, his arms crossed. You all heard what Velith said, Daniel began. She wants us to hand her over. She believes it is the only way to save the crew. I want to know what you think. Kevin spoke first. Sir, from a tactical standpoint, she might be right. Those 3 ships have more firepower than we do. If they want to fight, we will lose. Is that your recommendation? Daniel asked. To give her up? Kevin hesitated. No, sir. That is not what I am saying. I am just laying out the facts. Tactically, surrendering her would be the smart choice. He paused. But some things are more important than tactics. Megan Cross leaned forward. She was a tough woman with calloused hands and oil stains on her uniform. She had spent her whole life fixing things that were broken. Commander, I did not join the coalition to make safe choices. I did not travel 1,000 light years from Earth to hand innocent people over to monsters. Her voice was firm. Velith is one of us now. We protect our own. Larva nodded in agreement. I did not save her life just to watch them take it away. That woman has been through enough. She deserves better. She deserves to know that someone will fight for her. Daniel looked at each of them in turn. He felt a swell of pride in his chest. These were his people. They were scared, just like him. They knew the risks, just like him. But they were not going to run. Then it is decided, he said. We do not give her up. We find another way. He walked back to the bridge with his officers behind him. Velith was still standing there, waiting for the verdict. Her eyes searched his face, looking for some sign of what had been decided. Daniel walked to the communication console. Open a channel to the Kethrani ships, he said. Wide broadcast. Kevin obeyed. Channel open, sir. Daniel took a deep breath. Then he spoke in a clear, steady voice. This is Commander Daniel Harris of the Earth Coalition vessel Starward. I am addressing the Kethrani fleet that is approaching our position. We have received a distress signal and have taken aboard a survivor named Velith. She is now under our protection. He paused, knowing that his next words could start a war. The woman under our protection is now a member of this crew. Any attempt to take her will be considered an act of war against the Earth Coalition. We do not seek conflict, but we will not surrender an innocent person to face execution. If you wish to avoid bloodshed, I suggest you turn your ships around and leave." He made a cutting motion with his hand. Kevin closed the channel. The bridge was silent. Everyone was staring at Daniel. Some looked scared. Some looked proud. All of them looked like they understood what had just happened. Velith was frozen in place. Her silver eyes were wide with shock. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She looked like someone who had just witnessed something impossible. Finally, she found her voice. "Commander, why? Why would you do this? You could all die. Your crew, your ship, everything. And for what? For me?" She shook her head. "I am nothing. I am a criminal. I am a criminal. My own people threw me away." Daniel walked toward her. He stopped close enough to look into her eyes. "Velith, listen to me carefully. Where I come from, every person has value. It does not matter where they were born or what crimes their government says they committed. It does not matter if they are strong or weak, useful or useless." He put his hand on her shoulder. "You are a person. You have worth. And on this ship, we protect each other. That is who we are." Velith stared at him. She did not understand. She had spent her whole life being told that worth came from strength, from power, from what you could take from others. These humans believed something completely different. "But the Kethrani will not stop," she whispered. "Drathvorn, their commander, he is ruthless. He enjoys causing pain. He will destroy this ship just to prove a point. Then we will fight," Daniel said simply. "And we will do our best to win." A sound came from the communication console. Kevin looked down at his screen. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Kethrani fleet." "Put it on speaker." A voice filled the bridge. It was deep and cold, like the sound of ice cracking. "This is Commander Drathvorn of the Kethrani Imperial Navy. I have received your message, human." "I'd find it amusing." Daniel stepped toward the console. "I was not trying to be amusing, Commander Vorn. I was stating a fact." Vorn laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "You think you can protect the criminal Velith? You think your tiny ship can stand against the might of the Kethrani Empire? You are either very brave or very stupid. Perhaps both. Call it what you want," Daniel said. "The answer is the same. She stays with us." There was a long pause. When Vorn spoke again, his voice was colder than before. "Then you have chosen death, human. Not just for yourself, but for your entire crew. I will enjoy watching your ship burn. And when I take Velith from the wreckage, I'll make sure she knows that everyone died because of her." The transmission ended. Daniel turned to face his crew. They were all looking at him, waiting for orders. He could see fear in their eyes, but he could also see determination. They were not going to give up. "You heard him," Daniel said. "They are coming for us. We have 6 hours to prepare." He looked at Megan. "I need every bit of power you can give me. Shields, weapons, engines, everything." Megan nodded and hurried toward the engine room. Daniel looked at Kevin. "Plot a course through the asteroid field at the edge of this system. If we have to fight, I want to do it somewhere that gives us an advantage." Kevin began entering commands into his console. Daniel looked at Lavra. "Get the medical bay ready. We are going to have casualties." Lavra nodded grimly and left the bridge. Finally, Daniel looked at Velith. She was still standing there, her face a mixture of fear and something else. Something that looked almost like wonder. "Velith," he said, "I need to know everything you can tell me about those ships. Weaknesses, patterns, anything that might help us survive this fight." She nodded slowly. "I will tell you everything I know. As she began to speak, Daniel felt the weight of his decision settling on his shoulders. He had just challenged one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. He had put his entire crew at risk for a stranger, but as he looked at Veleth, at the hope dawning in her silver eyes, he knew he had made the right choice. Some things were worth fighting for. The asteroid field stretched across the darkness of space like a graveyard of ancient rocks. Some were small, the size of houses. Others were enormous, larger than cities. They tumbled slowly through the void, crashing into each other with silent violence. The Starward flew through this maze of stone, its shields flickering as smaller fragments bounced off the hull. Kevin Shaw sat at the helm, his hands moving quickly over the controls. Sweat dripped down his forehead, but his eyes never left the screen. "Status report," Commander Daniel Harris said from his chair. "We are in position, sir," Kevin replied. "The asteroid should give us some cover. Their targeting systems will have trouble locking onto us with all this debris." Daniel nodded. It was not much of an advantage, but it was something. Against 3 Kethrani warships, they needed every advantage they could get. The bridge was crowded. Every station was manned. Tyler Grant had come up from engineering to help with damage control. Dr. Laura Bennett was in the medical bay, preparing for the worst. And Vela stood near the back of the bridge, her silver eyes fixed on the main screen. She had told them everything she knew about Kethrani warships. Their weapons, their tactics, their weaknesses. It was not much. Kethrani ships were built for war. They were fast, powerful, and deadly. "Incoming," Kevin announced. The lead ship just entered the asteroid field. The other 2 are spreading out to flank us. Daniel studied the screen. The Kethrani commander, Drathvorn, was not stupid. He was trying to trap them, to cut off any escape route. Standard hunting tactics, but Daniel had no intention of escaping. "All weapons online," he ordered. "Target the lead ship. Fire when ready." The Starward shook as its weapons came to life. Beams of blue energy streaked across the darkness, slamming into the lead Kethrani ship. The alien vessel's shields flared bright purple as they absorbed the damage. The Kethrani ship fired back. Green bolts of plasma screamed toward the Starward. Kevin pulled hard on the controls, dialing the ship behind a massive asteroid just in time. The plasma hit the rock instead, turning its surface into molten slag. Direct hit on enemy shields, the weapons officer reported. No damage to their hull. Daniel gritted his teeth. He had expected that. Kethrani shields were strong. Breaking through them would take time they did not have. "Keep firing," he ordered. "Focus all power on the forward batteries." The battle continued. The Starward weaved through the asteroid field, using the massive rocks as cover while launching attack after attack at the lead ship. But the Kethrani were relentless. Their return fire was constant and devastating. Every few seconds, a new impact shook the Starward's hull. "Shields at 60%, Kevin announced. "We cannot take much more of this." Daniel knew he was right. They were losing this fight. Slowly but surely, the Kethrani were grinding them down. Then Tyler's voice came through the intercom. "Commander, I have an idea. It is risky, but it might work. Talk to me, Tyler. If I reroute power from the life support systems to the weapons, we can triple our firepower for about 30 seconds. That might be enough to punch through their shields. And what happens to us?" There was a pause. "We will have about 5 minutes of air. After that, things get uncomfortable." Daniel did not hesitate. "Do it." The lights on the bridge flickered and dimmed. The hum of the air recyclers faded to silence. But the weapons console lit up like a star. "Firepower boosted," the weapons officer said. "Ready on your command." Daniel leaned forward. "Target the lead ship's engine section." Everything we have. Fire. The starboard unleashed a storm of energy. Every weapon on the ship fired at once, pouring destruction into the lead Kethrani warship. The alien vessel's shields flickered, flashed, and finally collapsed under the assault. The next volley hit the exposed hull. The Kethrani ship's engines exploded in a ball of orange flame. The vessel began to spin out of control, crashing into a nearby asteroid with tremendous force. "One down," Kevin said, his voice filled with disbelief. "I cannot believe that worked." But there was no time to celebrate. The two remaining Kethrani ships were closing in, enraged by the loss of their comrade. They fired together, their combined firepower overwhelming. The starboard shuddered violently. Alarms screamed. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. "Shields down to 20%, Kevin shouted. "Hull breach on deck 3. Emergency force fields are holding, but we are losing atmosphere." Tyler's voice came through the intercom again. "Commander, I am rerouting power back to life support. We will have air, but we will not have shields for about 90 seconds. 90 seconds. Against 2 warships. It might as well have been forever." Daniel made a decision. "Kevin, take us into that crater." He pointed at a massive asteroid nearby. It had a deep hole in its surface, like the impact of some ancient collision. "We will use it as cover while our shields recharge." Kevin obeyed, diving the starboard into the crater. The asteroid wrapped around them like a protected shell. The Kethrani ships fired, but their weapons hit rock instead of metal. For a moment, there was silence. Then Vela spoke. "Commander, let me go to them." Everyone on the bridge turned to look at her. "If I surrender, they might leave you alone," she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. "I cannot watch more of your people die for me. Please, let me end this." Daniel stood up and walked toward her. He put his hands on her shoulders and looked into her eyes. "Veleth, listen to me. We did not come this far to give up now. We did not fight this hard just to hand you over at the end." He gestured at the crew around them. "Look at these people. They are fighting for you. Not because they have to. Because they choose to. Because they believe you are worth fighting for." Tears streamed down Vela's violet cheeks. "But why? I do not understand. My own people threw me away. They said I was worthless. Why do you care?" Daniel smiled. "Because that is what makes us human. We see the value in others, even when they cannot see it in themselves. We fight for each other. We do not trade lives. Not ever." He turned back to the screen. The shield's indicator was slowly climbing. 60%. 70%. "Kevin, prepare to take us out of here." "Megan, can the engines handle one more push?" Megan's voice came through the intercom. "They will hold, Commander. Just tell me where you want to go." Daniel studied the tactical display. One of the remaining Kethrani ships was damaged from debris impacts. Its movement was sluggish. The other was circling around the asteroid, trying to get a clear shot. "On my mark, we come out of this crater and attack the damaged ship. Everything we have left. We take it out, then we run." The crew acknowledged. Everyone prepared. The tension on the bridge was thick enough to cut. "Shields at 85%, Kevin reported. "Ready when you are." Daniel took a deep breath. Now, the starboard burst out of the crater like a missile. Its weapons opened fire on the damaged Kethrani ship. The alien vessel tried to maneuver, but it was too slow. The starboard's energy beams ripped through its shields and tore into its hull. The Kethrani ship exploded. "2 down," Kevin shouted. 1 to go. But the last ship, commanded by Drathvorn himself, was already firing. A plasma bolt slammed into the starboard side. The ship rocked violently. More alarms joined the chorus of warnings. "Engine 2 is offline," Megan reported. We are losing power. Kevin fought with the controls. I can still fly, but we are not going anywhere fast. Drathvorn's ship moved closer. It was damaged too, scarred from asteroid impacts and weapon strikes. But it was still deadly. Still hunting. The communication console crackled. Vorn's voice filled the bridge. Impressive, human. You have destroyed 2 of my ships. I did not expect such resistance from vermin. His tone was cold, but there was anger beneath it. But it ends now. Surrender the criminal, and I will grant your crew quick deaths. Continue to resist, and I will make you watch as I kill them one by one. Daniel's hand hovered over the weapons console. They had 1 shot left. Maybe 2. Not enough to destroy Vorn's ship. Not enough to win, but maybe enough to hurt him. Vorn, Daniel said into the communicator. I have a counteroffer. Turn around and go home. Tell your masters that Velith is under our protection. Tell them that humans do not surrender. Tell them that if they want her, they will have to go through us. There was silence. Then Vorn laughed. You are insane. Admirable, perhaps, but insane. His ship began to charge its weapons for one final attack. Daniel looked at his crew. They were battered, exhausted, and scared. But they were still fighting, still standing, still together. He was proud of them. Target his weapon systems, Daniel ordered. Everything we have left. The Starboard fired. At the same moment, Vorn's ship fired. Both shots hit their targets. The Starboard shook so hard that Daniel was thrown from his chair. The lights went out. Emergency power flickered on, casting everything in red. But Vorn's ship was worse. Its main weapons were destroyed. Smoke poured from its hull. It was crippled, and as Daniel watched, the damaged vessel began to turn away. It was retreating. Vorn's voice came through the static one last time. This is not over, human. I will remember you. I will remember this ship. And someday, I will finish what I started. The channel went dead. The Kethrani ship limped away, disappearing into the darkness of space. Daniel lay on the floor of the bridge, breathing hard. Around him, the crew began to move again, checking systems, treating injuries, coming back to life. They had won. Against all odds, they had won. The Starboard drifted through space like a wounded animal. Its hull was scarred with black marks from plasma burns. One of its engines was dark and silent. The lights inside flickered between normal and emergency power. But it was still alive. Still flying. It had been 3 days since the battle. Commander Daniel Harris walked through the corridors of his ship, checking on his crew. Everyone had survived, though many were injured. Dr. Laura Bennett had not slept in 2 days. Moving from patient to patient, treating burns and broken bones and radiation sickness. Daniel stopped at the entrance to the engine room. Inside, Megan Cross was working with her team to repair the damaged systems. Sparks flew as they welded new plates over the holes in the hull. How are we looking? Daniel asked. Megan wiped sweat from her forehead. Engine 2 will be back online in about 12 hours. Shields are at 40% and climbing. We will be able to make it to the nearest coalition outpost in about a week. She grinned despite her exhaustion. We are going to make it, Commander. Daniel nodded and moved on. He found Tyler Grannon in the cargo bay, running power cables from one system to another. The young engineer looked tired but happy. When he saw Daniel, he gave a casual salute. Commander, just finishing up the backup power network. Should have full lights by tonight. Good work, Tyler. Daniel hesitated. That trick you pulled with the life support. That was dangerous. Tyler shrugged. We needed the firepower. I did the math. 5 minutes without air was better than dying with a full tank. Daniel could not argue with that logic. He patted Tyler on the shoulder and continued. walking. His last stop was the observation deck. It was a small room at the front of the ship, with a large window that looked out at the stars. The room was usually empty. Crew members came here to think, to be alone, to remember why they had joined the coalition in the first place. Velith was there. She stood at the window, her violet skin pale against the darkness of space. Her arm was out of its cast now, though it still moved stiffly. The bandages were gone from her head, leaving only a faint scar. She did not turn when Daniel entered. She just kept staring at the stars. "Beautiful, is it not?" she said quietly. "I never had time to look at them before." There was always work to do, always orders to follow, always someone telling me to move faster. She paused. I never just stopped to look. Daniel walked up beside her. The stars stretched out forever, millions of tiny points of light against the endless black. "When I was young," he said, "my father used to take me outside at night to watch the stars. He would tell me stories about the heroes who lived among them, brave men and women who explored the unknown and helped those in need." He smiled at the memory. "That is why I became an explorer. I wanted to be one of those heroes." Velith turned to look at him. "You are one of those heroes, Commander. You and your crew. What you did for me, no Kethrani would ever understand. You risked everything for a stranger, someone who had nothing to offer you." Daniel shook his head. "You had plenty to offer. You told us about the Kethrani ships. You helped us find their weaknesses. You fought alongside us. That is not what I mean." Velith's silver eyes were bright with emotion. "I mean my life. I was worthless among my people, broken, diseased. They threw me away like garbage." Her voice cracked. "But you saw something different. You saw a person worth saving." Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. "Velith, can I tell you something?" She nodded. "When I first found you in that crashed shuttle, I did not know anything about you. I did not know if you were good or evil, friend or enemy. All I knew was that you were hurt and alone. That was enough for me." He turned to face her fully. "In the Coalition, we believe that every person has value, not because of what they can do or what they can give us, but because they are alive, because they exist. That is enough." Velith shook her head slowly. "My people would call that foolish. They would say that worth must be earned through strength and victory. And what do you think?" She was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke, and her voice was stronger than before. "I think my people are wrong." Daniel smiled. "Good." They stood together in silence, watching the stars drift by. The ship hummed around them, slowly healing from its wounds. The crew worked and rested and talked and laughed, celebrating their survival in small ways. After a while, Velith spoke again. "Commander, what will happen to me now? When we reach your outpost, where will I go?" Daniel had thought about this question. "That depends on you. You could apply for asylum with the Coalition. They would give you a place to live, help you start a new life." He paused. "Or you could stay here, on the Starward." Velith blinked. "Stay here? As what?" "As a crew member. We could use someone with your scientific knowledge. And from what I have seen, you know how to handle yourself in a crisis." For the first time since Daniel had met her, Velith smiled. It was a small smile, uncertain and fragile. But it was real. "You would want me?" "After everything that has happened." Daniel extended his hand. "Welcome to the crew, Velith, officially." She stared at his hand for a moment. Then she reached out and took it. Her grip was firm and warm. "Thank you, Commander. I will not disappoint you. I know you will not." Over the following weeks, the Starward continued its journey toward the nearest Coalition outpost. Velith began learning the ship's systems, helping where she could. She worked alongside Megan in engineering and studied navigation with Kevin. She spent hours in the medical bay with Laura, learning how humans treated injuries. And every evening, she visited Tyler in his workshop. Listening to Earth music and learning about human culture. The crew accepted her completely. She was one of them now. But Velith had one more thing she wanted to do. One night, she asked Daniel for permission to use the long-range communication array. He granted it without question. She sat alone in the communication room, composing a message. It took her hours to find the right words. When she was finally finished, she broadcast it on a frequency that only Kethrani receivers could detect. The message said this: "To any Kethrani who can hear this, my name is Velith. I was once a scientist in the Imperial Science Division. I was arrested for speaking against our policies of conquest and cruelty. I was sentenced to death. I escaped, and I was hunted. But I was found by a species called humans. They did not know me. They had no reason to help me, but they saved my life. They protected me from our warships. They fought for me and almost died for me. And when I asked them why, they said something I will never forget. They said that every life has value, not because of strength or power or usefulness, but simply because it exists. I know that most of you will think this is foolish. You will laugh at these humans and their strange beliefs. You will call them weak, but I have seen their strength. It is not in their weapons or their ships. It is in their hearts. They care for each other. They fight for each other. They never give up, even when the odds are impossible. I used to believe that I was worthless, that my compassion was a disease that had corrupted me. But the humans taught me something different. They taught me that mercy is not weakness. It is the greatest strength of all. I do not know if anyone will believe me. I do not know if my words will change anything, but I had to try. There is a better way to live. I have seen it with my own eyes. This is Velith, formerly of the Kethrani Empire, now a crew member of the Earth Coalition vessel Starward. Signing off. She ended the transmission and sat back in her chair. She did not know if anyone would hear it. She did not know if it would make any difference, but she had hope. And for the first time in her life, that was enough. The stars continued to drift past the observation window. The Starward continued its journey through the darkness of space. And somewhere, far away, other Kethrani who felt the same way Velith once felt might be listening. Maybe they would hear her message. Maybe they would start to wonder if there was another way. Maybe. Someday, they would find their own humans, their own heroes. And maybe, just maybe, the galaxy would become a little less dark. Daniel found Velith still in the communication room, staring at the blank screen. "You sent your message?" he asked. She nodded. "I do not know if it will do any good, but I had to try." Daniel sat down beside her. "That is all any of us can do. Try. Hope. Keep moving forward." Velith looked at him. "Commander, I said something to you when we first met. I said I was not worthy of your trust." She paused. "I was wrong. It is not about being worthy. It is about becoming worthy. About trying to be better every day." Daniel nodded. "That is the most human thing you have ever said." Velith smiled. "Maybe I am learning." They sat together in the quiet room, surrounded by stars and darkness and the endless possibility of space. They were explorers. They were survivors. They were family. And the journey was just beginning.